Well, welcome back to the Coach McVay Show, presented by Microsoft Surface, Copilot plus PC. I'm J.B. Long with the head coach of your Los Angeles Rams, Sean McVay. Good to see you. I wonder what weekend perspective you might have gained.
Yeah, I think the weekend perspective is number one, just grateful to be able to get some time at home with my family. And, little Christian's doing good. It's cool to watch his big brother Jordan interact with him, and everything's good at home. And then, there's a great chance to be able to reflect and the appropriate sense of urgency of couldn't wait to get back in the building with the guys today and be able to look at the things that we can improve upon. And I believe the best is yet to come for our group. And we're going to be battle tested. We're going to use this as an opportunity to strengthen us. I think our scars will strengthen us. And I just refuse to believe anything else other than that. And I have so much confidence in what this team can be. Obviously, a really tough decision moving on from Chase Blackburn, but I do feel like it's best for our football team. I have tremendous confidence in Ben Kotwika's leadership, the sense of urgency, the accountability, some of the things that I think we can improve upon that I think you'll see reflected in our style of play. And ultimately, I got to do a better job. That first and foremost is something that, I have to do better for us collectively. Very tough and difficult. Very grateful for the many years of contribution that Chase had to a lot of positive things that have gone on with our football team since he's been running the special teams. And I'm excited about leaning into the prep and getting ready to roll against the Falcons this week.
Sure. Okay, I'll follow up on a few of those specifics.
Yeah.
But I found myself thinking a lot about 2 division losses in overtime.
Yeah.
On a Thursday night.
That's right.
And I can't help but draw a parallel to the way the first one in week 5 set you up for a 6-game rip. Are there elements of focus and concentration and motivation that maybe can parallel that one right now?
What do you think? Absolutely. I think, what I've seen from this group is they've always used setbacks as setups for comebacks to strengthen ourselves. And you know what I said to myself? I said, and I mentioned this to the team too, and I don't share too much of what I say to the team, but what a cool thing to do something that takes you to the highest of highs and some of the feelings that it can elicit where you do something meaningful. A lot of people, they're just, they yearn to find something that lights you up or can take you to some of the tough moments that this game does when you're doing it with people that you love and care about. I think about 11 locker rooms that we've had really just such a sense of appreciation, gratitude. And I think of 4 where we've been disappointed, but all with the resolve and the resilience of, I can't wait to respond. And you look at those margins and how small they are, and how if we can continue to use those things to callous us the right way and continue to improve and stack blocks as we lead into this 1-game tournament that we've assured ourselves a slot in. And I don't care what our seed is, where we're playing. You'd obviously love to be at home, but really it's anytime, any place, but it's one day at a time. And our first goal is the Falcons. And I'm jacked up about, where we can go with this thing and where I think we're headed. And we're not going to allow that to be anything except for a setup for a comeback.
When I hear you use the expression like battle tested or toughened, you play in a division that has 3 teams clinched already.
That's right.
With 2 games to play. I hope you're atop that division when the dust settles. But even if not, as of this moment, you've got the number 1 strength of victory in the NFC. You've traveled more miles than any team in the NFC. Who is more playoff tested than your Los Angeles Rams?
I believe we're playoff tested, and I'm more worried about just inside out. I'm not worried about anybody else. I'm worried about us continuing to move in the direction that we want, being able to use all the learning ops, and that's irregardless of whether we won or not. I could, point to a handful of plays that if we make them, but you know what, we didn't. We're not victims. We're not going to make excuses. That's not who we are. That's not how we're wired. You give Seattle credit, but make no mistake about it. This is going to strengthen us, and I know it.
When you say scars, though, I mean, scars could cause you to flinch. I know they're not going to cause...
Scars will strengthen us. I mean scars in the best way possible.
I know you do. Because, look what's had to happen for the Rams to lose the game this year.
That's right.
I mean, pretty improbable list of things, turnovers, miscues, some bizarre rulings, but most, if not all of which, are under your team's control.
That's exactly right.
Is that where you can draw confidence even in defeat?
100%. Because when those moments arise where when you have a lead and you give people hope, how can you eliminate any life that you give them? And that's been a prevalent theme. And how do we really be able to, play complementary ball in those most important moments? And I think we'll be able to look back on it and say, let's lean in, let's understand when these moments arise moving forward, whether that's against Atlanta, might be against Arizona, and then whoever we play in the first round. And so, but whatever it is, it's one day at a time, and we're always going to be able to use whatever we can take to be able to learn, apply it, be totally present, and be grateful for the op that we have in front of us.
When you say theme, it sounds like maybe a callback to two historic losses in terms of the leads that you had in Philadelphia and Seattle. There have been some attempts, I think, this weekend to associate those. Do you feel a link between those moments?
Well, I think they're similar in some regard of we came up short and there was many moments to be able to slam the door shut. And so you look at all those things. But then there was also a bunch of opportunities where I could show when we did slam the door shut and you really opened up and you ended up winning, by wide margins. So I think you want to be careful to overcorrect, but you got to be able to acknowledge it. And I think, like I said, all of those moments, all 15 of the games that we've experienced up to this point have been strengthening mechanisms for us to be able to learn, to apply it, and to continue to shape ourselves into the team that we want to be, where there's a continuous growth, there's a continuous improvement, and that's not always exclusively reflected in whether we get the win or the loss.
All right, so I believe there's going to be opportunities for the Rams to be up 2 or 3 scores from this point forward when those moments present themselves. Where specifically do you want your team to be better?
Well, I want us to be able to sustain through 4 quarters, and then, if you just look at the other night, there's great opportunities where, all right, you're up 30-14. Kobe makes a great pick in the tight red area. Hey, let's move the ball. Let's not even leave ourselves susceptible to punt it. And then if we do have to punt, let's hit it in the location. Let's cover where we're casting a net with the appropriate urgency and don't allow that to turn into points. Let's make sure that we use the learning op to be able to say we're always, urgently fighting to get on those loose balls, where they end up are rewarded a 2-point conversion a couple plays later. But where do you want me to start? Where do you want me to finish in terms of the amount of beautiful things that we're going to learn moving forward? But it's really about stacking days, stacking plays, and continuing to execute with the way that we're capable of, with the urgency and the enjoyment with our preparation and our approach.
When you talk about urgency, I think all of your championship teams have been characterized by that and like this common belief that it was their year, their moment. Do you see that in the eyes of your team when you talk to them on a day like this?
I have such belief in this team. And I think that, we can take this. It is one day at a time, and you have to earn everything that you get. But my confidence, my belief, we don't need anything more than what we have in that locker room. And I believe that our best is pretty damn special. But we have to be able to find that. We have to be able to continue to appropriately have the discipline, the ability to be present, to be able to bring that out in one another. And then when you get those opportunities to play in those 3.5-hour windows that are so precious, you got to be at your best. You got to be locked in and then have the courage to be able to go for it. And if we do that, I think good things are on the horizon for us, but it's just still one day at a time, like I've always talked about.
All right, let's get to that kicking game phase, and you referenced the change that you made at special teams with Chase Blackburn. What's a realistic expectation? Because we are in week 17 here in the middle of December in terms of activating change and improvement at this stage of the game.
Yeah, I think better overall play. I think I expect to see us improve. No different than what I expect to see us from offense to defense. I expect the same exact things, whether that's aggressiveness in our coverage units, the ability to have the appropriate integrity, the way that we're defeating blocks, transitioning from punt, where we're in a protection, to be able to go cover. I expect us to be able to hit the ball consistently, where we want to. And then if we don't, then let's have some other guys be able to make it right. I want to see continued, improvement in the arena of the field goal operation, which I think has been reflected, recently. And that's what I want to see us play, clean, good, sound execution where, hey, we're playing with speed, we're playing with violence, we're playing with an aggressiveness, and the same things that I think we've seen consistently. And there's been glimpses of that on teams, but what we've seen on offense and defense fairly consistently throughout, that's what I want to see on teams.
Is there a version of this Rams special teams group where you're in attack mode like you are in your other phases?
Yeah,
Is it a fair, I don't want to say criticism because I'm not trying to criticize your team, but it's been a few years since the Rams were kind of on their front foot in the kicking game, right?
And that's on me. It's on me and nobody else. That's not something that Chase could have controlled. Those are things that I have to be honest with myself about, and that is my responsibility and that's my fault. But what you do feel fortunate of is that there's opportunities to still be able to correct, to try to inspire and influence positive change, and that's what I think you're going going to see reflected.
For the fans' curiosity, does that mean you're going to be more involved with special teams per se?
I think
or?
I'm going to be where I need to be.
Okay.
And if that's reflected in that phase, then the answer is yes. But I think that's always been reflected. I think sometimes, I'm not sitting, I don't go through, all right, what's my weekly rhythm week in and week out? I am wherever I'm needed. I feel tremendously grateful and blessed to have such a great coaching staff that, hey, they can pick up the slack if I need to spend some time elsewhere. And if that's where I feel like is going to be, time best spent, value received, then the answer is yes.
I've heard you use the word aggression a few times. One way that we have seen that lately is on fourth down.
Yeah.
You're top 3 in the league in fourth down conversions. How would you describe how you've evolved in that moment in games over the years, and why are we seeing it so much now?
I think, we talk about all the time having the courage to be able to cut it loose and be, the controlled aggression, be smart, be aggressive but not reckless. And I think that, we've tried to toe those lines. I give tremendous credit to, the surrounding part. Smashball's done an excellent job of being able to help influence a lot of those decisions in real time. And then the confidence in the players, ultimately they're the ones executing. They're the ones that are converting on those fourth downs. And then, there's different situations and circumstances that arise that you're saying, maybe I should have in that one, or, you don't just say, okay, if we got it, it was the right decision, or if we didn't, it wasn't. It's really, all right, when you do those after action reviews, how honest can you be with yourself while taking in all the factors? And analytics is certainly a huge factor, as is some of the different things that go on with 22 moving parts. And ultimately our guys have done a nice job, and I think it served us well, for the most part.
There's still a week to go before game day, so not a lot of specifics on the health front, but let me just check a few boxes. The way that Warren's been playing at right tackle, has that bought Rob as much time as he needs to get back to 100%?
It has, and he's not there yet. Warren's done a great job, and like I've said over and over again, Warren deserves a ton of credit, as does Ryan Wendell, Zach Cromer, and Brian Allen. But I also think Rob pouring into guys. Rob he's a captain for a reason. He's basically voted a unanimous captain over the last handful of years since Big Whit retired, because of the respect, reverence that his teammates have for who he is and how he moves every single day. And he still has had a tremendous impact on that room, even if he's not out there playing. And I'm really proud of Warren, but I'm not surprised. And Rob deserves some of that credit as well.
And then is it Justin Dedich's job to hold down right guard until K-Dot can come back?
It will be. Yeah, he did a great job the other night. We'll see what it looks like for K-Dot moving forward. He got his ankle pretty good. He's as tough as it gets. He might need some time, and if he does in the meantime, then a lot of confidence in Dedich, who can play left, can play right. He's a great competitor. Love what he's about.
And it seems like a healthy Braden Fiske is integral to getting the Rams to where they're trying to go. How much can this extra time help him get back to more of the Braden we love?
Yeah, I thought he did a great job. I want to say played, a little over 20 snaps the other night. What a stud, what a competitor to be able to, push through. But I think it'll serve him and really our team as a whole well, because our guys use these times to be able to recover, get rested, get rejuvenated. And I like the look in our eye from our group. They'll be ready to go this week.
Couple things about this week. One is the holiday. The other is the weather. It's supposed to pour here. How have those two elements shaped your plan for preparing for the Falcons?
If we've got to be able to adjust and go and use, the fortunate luxury that we do have of being able to go practice at SoFi, if there's not any conflicts, and that's something that we're going to do. We need to practice. Need to be able to continue to take steps in the right direction. And even though if it's not ideal, then we'll adjust and adapt, and our guys know that work is important. So if we need to do that, then that's what's going to be reflected.
And Thursday gets to be a holiday?
Thursday will be a day off, because we play on Monday, so it works out pretty well. And then at Friday, we're still dealing with the rain. We need to be able to get our work in accordingly.
I've heard you say anyone, anywhere. That's kind of the moment that you're in right now in terms of the current playoff construct. Do you feel like this is the team built to win in any weather conditions? That you've proven that.
I think that whatever it is we've got to be able to adjust and adapt. And I'm not interested in watching anyone else. I'm more interested in being inside out. We're in this situation because of our own responsibility. We're not victims. We're not making excuses. I'm grateful that we know we're going to have an opportunity to be able to play in the games afterwards. And what I'm interested in is how good and how far can we take this thing, whether we're, going to Atlanta, whether we're playing Arizona at home, and then whatever it looks like. in the first round of the playoffs, we're just grateful to be able to get extra football, and we're going to maximize every single damn day that we've got.
No, you will. The Atlanta Falcons are next. I think the teams will be connected naturally this week because of the draft day trade, among other reasons. What were your recollections of how that went down, why it made sense for your Rams, and really how it's worked out nicely for both sides?
Well, I think what worked out is that there was a player that they wanted, and there was a player that we wanted, and we felt like where we were moving back to, projection-wise, we were still going to be able to do that. And they had a guy that they really wanted. And so I think, two teams with a need, and it allowed us to be able to have some delayed gratification with the pick the following year. Rob was able to get his guy that they wanted, and we were still able to come away with Terrence Ferguson as who we wanted. So it worked out for everybody.
I know last week was a whirlwind for you. Did you happen to see Kirk Cousins get on the soapbox about the pure progression versus coverage stuff?
No, I didn't see it.
It was a clinic.
When did he do it?
In preparation for last week's game at Arizona. And what was cool is about how he spoke about living the jump. And some other, people from your tree like KOC who came to him in Minnesota. But whether it's, going from Michigan State and reading safeties to then getting to more of a pure progression place, how the defensive disguise has changed the way that people like him are being taught to play this game.
Yeah, he's always so well thought out. I mean, I owe Kirk a ton. I mean, he's as responsible as any player for me being fortunate enough to, get an opportunity to interview with the Rams because of the success he had leading the way as a quarterback when we were playing and when he was playing and when I was coaching in Washington. And so a lot of respect, a lot of reverence, and he's so well thought out. I'm sure it was a master class and appropriately articulated as he always does.
Yeah. Any Marist reunion this week?
No.
Nobody coming to the game?
You know what? I don't know yet. I'm not even sure. I'll tell you what, though. That place meant a lot to me. A lot of the foundational values, a lot of coaches, a lot of people that mean a lot. Marist was a really special place in my heart. It'll always be. And I'll always give back and always try to get back there. But it'll be business, going back there on a Monday night. Our focus will be on that Monday night game.
Well, Merry Christmas to you. This is the last full week of the regular season, so that means this is the finale of the Coach McVay show. I've enjoyed being with you again in 2025,
Me too,
Sean.
man.
Thank you very much, and go deep.
All right.
All right, for Sean McVay, I'm J.B. Long. Have a great week, and a happy holidays to you as well.